Hi there, my name is Brandon Bates, and I am a recovered drug addict. I'm making a video. I've been writing a book for a while, and quickly realized that there wasn't enough content in there to make it a book. And this is just kind of the way of the world now, with everybody loves their screens. So, for the sake of potentially reaching out to anybody that's listening, I decided to make this video instead, and I'm just going to read along what I have written out over the years. I've been off of hard drugs, which mostly consisted of cocaine and speed. I've been off that but not limited to. I've been off that for over 4 years. I haven't had a drink in over 3 years. And I quit smoking marijuana at, when was that? It's cool that I've forgotten. That'll happen to you too, I promise. It'll get to a point. So I believe that was, I'm coming up on 3 years, I believe. So, yeah, 3 years completely sober. I did everything in steps for me. I was still drinking and smoking pot while I got off drugs, and I almost hit a year mark, and I promised myself if I hit that year mark, then without doing any drugs, that I would next tackle my biggest problem, which was alcohol. And to my surprise, I almost made it a year. And I blacked out as per usual one night and woke up in my van. Didn't know how it got there. And like I've said many times before, I said that's the last time, Brandon. Countless times have I said that. But that was the actual last time. I once heard a guy I used to watch at the beginning of my sobriety. He said, "Keep quitting until you quit, until the real quit." And that's true. Just keep trying. The fact that you're actively trying to get sober shows that you will. So you only fail when you stop trying, right? So yeah, throughout here this video you might hear me like laugh and chuckle, but that's just the way I deal with it. So I'm talking about very serious subject matter, but just know that I'm completely sincere, and I wish that this video, the objective of me making this video is to, sometimes all you need is that switch to click, and perhaps if you're already watching this video, something has already jarred that loose, or if you're watching this video, you're already better off than most people that are continuing to live in that stagnant, horrible, vicious cycle of addiction. So, kudos to you. This is the first step of many. You will quit. I'm gonna try to quit. Start telling yourself you are going to do this, because you will. I am the least likely candidate to do what I have done, and if there's hope for all, I believe, no matter how long you've been at it for. I was at it for almost 18 years, and told myself once again many times that I would stop, and I couldn't. It was hopeless. Luckily enough, I got out before I did too much damage. Like, I did a lot of damage. I didn't come out completely unscathed, but I got out, thankfully. And I'm very grateful for my sobriety. Great things have happened since, and continue to happen. And let's get into it. All right, so since I began living a sober lifestyle, I vowed to myself to never become that asshole who decides to gets sober, then unsolicitedly attempts to push their sobriety on others. Uh, some people can maintain a healthy balance of their vices, and not everyone that uses is an addict. Though, in my opinion, they ride a fine and dangerous line. No pun intended. Um, all I can do is be open minded and be there to help if somebody comes to me seeking guidance. And I don't believe in pushing sobriety because, quite frankly, it's none of my business what you do. And intervention is rarely an effective method of initiating a life change. And the success rate for anyone who is forced into sobriety is very low. You must truly do it for yourself, not for anybody else. And if you're doing it for someone or something else, chances are you will be unsuccessful. So just remember that you got to do it for yourself. You got to keep your sobriety number one, or else it's a trickle down effect and everything else will fall apart. You got to put it above friends, family, children. Like, you have to. If you don't have your sobriety, then you lose everything else. So that has to be priority number one. It's not selfish. What you were doing before was selfish. Put your sobriety first. I believe people will quit when and if they are ready on their own accord. There is never a perfect time to quit. We will always conjure up excuses as to why it should be postponed. The time to quit is always now. Right now. We're like those spoiled brats clinging to a door frame at the McDonald's play place, right? Just kicking and screaming like, I don't want to go now! You're a fucking brat and you need to get the fuck out of there. That's what's going on. You can put up the fight, but that's not to say you won't be subjected to the consequences of your actions. This is a DIY recovery guide. For those of you that don't know, DIY stands for do it yourself, as you are the only one who can stop this horrible and debilitating affliction we call addiction. To cease this madness will have its cost. Oh, I lost myself here. Sorry. This is a DIY recovery. Oh, yeah. Oh. I feel like I screwed up the video, but you know what? This is raw. Life is raw, so I'm just going to carry on. Life is flawed. Humans are flawed. Moving on. So, and I lost myself again. This is a DIY recovery guide. You are the only one. To cease this madness will have its cost, but it's within the realms of possibility for anyone to do, no matter what extent one finds himself in. There is hope for everyone. Your journey to sobriety is a full-time job, but it pays well. I would like to start off by providing you with a brief insight into my past. I started experimenting with drugs when I was 11 years old, and only then, when viewed as a retrospective, did I realize, almost 2 decades later, that it had become a serious problem when I was around 15. Like, looking back, I realized, like, oh yeah, that was when the real problem started, was around 15, 16. Yeah, from blackouts, fighting, engaging in criminal activity, ruined relationships, lost opportunities, the list of that cliche path goes on and on. I corrected some behaviors along the way, but ceased to address the most detrimental aspect of my follies: gluttony, my propensity for substance abuse. I've always disagreed with the phrase drugs and alcohol, as alcohol is a drug. Why do they separate the two? Well, that's another theory of mine, but yeah. Alcohol is a drug, an extremely harmful drug that is widely condoned in our society. So based on its availability, it naturally became the drug of my choice. Other habits have come and gone, but this one remained by my side throughout the whole duration of my sickness. Literally, it was always in arms, reach away. So now, consequently, due to this drug and my inability to cease my unquenchable thirst for inebriation, the last 18 years of my life can be reduced to a handful of hazy memories, mostly consisting of poor, irreversible decisions. Chances are, if you're reading this, you have a history of your own and are seeking help. Well, it's my hopes that this book, or video now, this book can spark a beacon of hope for those dwelling within the dark, relentless pit of despair. I'm considered to be one of the least likely candidates to do what I have done and have broke free from the horrific shackles of addiction and its self-destructive lifestyle that inevitably follows. I believe it to be of the utmost importance to emphasize that addiction is not a competition. And what I mean by that is, regardless of which degree one finds themselves in, if you are there, you're there. Yeah. I'd like to hope that one would heed the warnings and have already taken action to prevent the sickness from completely destroying their life. But chances are, if you're watching this video, you have already discovered that addiction only worsens. And the sad truth is, most of us will only come to that undeniable conclusion that we must stop once it's too late and we have lost everything. Addiction will rob you of all your possessions, pride, dignity, self-respect, aspirations, morals, and more often than not, our will to live. It is so powerful that one would rather die than live a life of sobriety, and this tragic demise is often the harsh reality of the consumer. This sickness will most likely result in either jail, rehabilitation, or death, and only a seldom few will catch it before it develops into the maddening sickness of the plenty. The rest of us will all roll the dice to see if the odds are in our favor, and the next thing you know, you're there. I consider addiction to be a sickness of the mind, and this sickness is a parasite. I refer to it as a parasite all the time. Alcoholism is one of the many parasites in our world of addiction. Once it attaches itself to a host, it will do whatever is necessary to survive, and it has absolutely no concern for its host. Its host being you. This is a highly toxic parasite that will corrupt your ability to foresee any positive or successful results in regards to departing from this toxic relationship with yourself. Because that's what's going on. You're in a toxic relationship with yourself. This parasite knows no boundaries and is a master of manipulation. For example, it has already convinced you that you are in need of it. Perhaps you need it to socialize or digress from a stressful job or cope with a troubled mind or past. Whatever it is, you are most likely convinced that you need it. So look at the definition of need. Need is a necessity or requirement to one's survival. Your vice is not a need. It is a want. But this parasite has manipulated your mind and body with such powerful force that you believe it to be a necessity, and refraining from it could even lead to physical withdrawals. It's powerful shit, as you all know. We can begin to strengthen our minds by separating these labels. Your addictions are not needs. They are wants, because they are not in the same category as air, food, water. Though in the early stages of recovery, they sure as hell will feel like they are. The first step to sobriety is to be 100% honest with oneself, or at least the preparation to do so, and that preparation is acknowledgement. This parasite is so overwhelmingly powerful that it hasn't even allowed you to view your own life through your own eyes. All you see is your next step to getting more, and not everything you've discarded along the way. If one begins to see a correlation between the quality of their life and mind and what they're consuming, then that was you. The real you attempting to come up for air and cry for help before they're swallowed up again in the violent waters of addiction. Therefore, in a metaphorical sense, the preparation is beginning to hear and see the you who is stranded out at sea, overboard their own vessel. In the beginning, a long-term goal always appears to be unbearably distant. And this is one of the many factors that the beholder of this goal will find extremely discouraging. We just give up because there's no way I'm going to make it that long. Keep at it. Yes, you will. So if one sets sails on this journey with that mentality, the maintenance of this goal may subsequently diminish due to the lack of motivation, simply because we are impatient. We aren't seeing the change we sought quick enough, and it's too difficult. The two things a person needs to accomplish this goal is strength and patience. And the cruel irony of this is that anyone aspiring to get sober usually doesn't possess these qualities. This includes myself and most likely anyone else who has gotten sober. Desperation leads all of us to these beginning stages of our sobriety. For strength and courage are manifested in the face of desperation. So don't let the lack of these qualities discourage you from taking the first steps to sobriety, because you will build up strength and patience on your journey. We all lack the courage to better ourselves until we decided we would try. So as you can see, just setting this goal is progress and worthy of praise. You are already stronger than you were before. One scary thing about getting sober is the process of self-discovery. You might not like what you find. We are forced to take a good hard look in the mirror and witness with honesty the monster we have become. But the beautiful aspect of this potent realization is that once we find it, only then we can begin to alter it. There are a myriad of reasons why an individual descends down the slippery slopes of substance abuse. Poor and abusive upbringings, past or current trauma, addictive personalities that simply got out of hand. Whatever your reason may be, it was ultimately you and your decisions that put you where you are. This process is all about strengthening and correcting our minds. So we must take responsibility for our actions and the sickness. Do not allow this parasite to shift blame on other people or events. It was you and only you, and by now it should be evident that blaming other factors for your sickness has done nothing to improve your situation. We must first accept it before we can throw it away. Remember that. Your past can either be a look into the future or an opportunity for change. The choice is yours, and it always has been. The choice is yours, and it always has been. There's more to recovery than the liberation of the mind and body from this parasitic sickness. There's catching up and rebuilding our lives and selves. We have dwelled within stagnation for so long that we have fallen so far behind. And this is where patience is key. I can't just tell you to be patient, and you will be. It is a quality you must learn. So don't set too many goals at once, because it may become overwhelming. Staying sober should be your first priority, and the rest will inevitably follow when the time is right and fitting. Trust your decision to get sober in its direction. It will only bring you positive change and well-being. Just think about this. Have you ever heard of anybody say, "Oh, getting sober? Fucking worst decision I've ever made"? No, you never hear anybody say that. At first, you're kind of working in the dark until you dig deep enough that you see some light. You're scared and confused as you plunge into the unknown, and understandably so. It's completely foreign to you. The direction is foreign, but the darkness is something you are most likely all too familiar with. But you've never experienced it with a clear and conscious mind, so just keep digging. Once you spot a little bit of light, it's all you will focus on. It's quite amazing how the smallest amount of light can illuminate the darkest of places. Dig with persistence and determination. As the light opens up and brightens, you will begin to see all the things that were right in front of you the whole time. Your addiction is a symptom of something deeper. Addiction doesn't occur spontaneously. It's a derivative of a mental issue, and this process is all about assessing it. And then you can begin to create solutions. To admit weakness is a strength. We must learn to love ourselves, either for the first time or just love yourself again if you lost touch with yourself. A lot of us, we've been doing it so long that we don't even know who we were ever. Do not run away from the past, but be drawn towards the future or the best version of yourself. Remember, the past can either be a look into your future or an opportunity for change. We can't undo what is done, so please refrain from dwelling on it too much and instead use our mistakes as motivation to better ourselves, to give us a shove forward here and there. Getting sober will completely fix your troubled mind and/or life, but it will drastically improve your situation and get you into a position where you are able to finally address it properly. You can't fix fucked up while you're fucked up. That's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. And then you're surprised when the fire gets bigger. What the fuck is this? I don't know, throw more gasoline on it. Or fucking stupid. Yeah. Sobriety first, and you cannot skip this step if you want your life to be better. You have to do this first. You can't skip that shit. Many of us have tried, and it doesn't work like that. Addiction is only struggle. It's a struggle to be, it's a struggle to feed, and it's a struggle to set free. Once you have physically and mentally liberated yourself from this arduous affliction, you can begin to actually live your life, because what you were doing before is merely surviving. You are imprisoned, surviving only to satisfy this parasite's unquenchable thirst for destruction. Addiction is a 24/7 gig. Addiction is a 24/7 gig that does not have the luxury of breaks. It is a lot like having split personalities too. There's you, the high, the low, and the fiend in between. Let this be motivation for your sobriety. Let this be motivation for your sobriety, because this will be 100% you in the end. 100% you, the real you. The one who seeks betterment, the one who is watching this video right now, the one who has been suppressed, the one who is left to suffer with the aftermath and deal with all the consequences for the actions this parasite has burdened you with. This is a mental war. You are at war with this other person, this parasite. You're at war with them, and they know you very well, but you have yet to figure them out. This parasite always seems to be a few steps ahead of us. And the only thing this parasite is not expecting, the only way to defeat it is to stop feeding it. I'm sorry to inform you, but there's no other way around it, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. A lot of the beginning of your journey is going to suck. It's going to be hard, but it's worth it. Fuck, it's worth it. Come to the other side. You're free. So this is where your strength is built, enduring and fighting this. So, as it always has been, the choice is yours. You can either devote this time struggling to get sober, rest assured, will get easier and eventually cease. Or you can continue the everyday struggle of your sickness, which will suck for the remaining duration of your miserable existence. So you can either suffer for a couple years, or however long it's going to take, it varies from person to person, suffer for a short amount of time and live the rest of your life happily, free, liberated, or you can continue that bullshit for the rest of your life. Choice is yours. You need some tough love in this situation too, like fucking a healthy balance of it with compassion and understanding, but also like fucking get your head out of your ass, get your shit together, which you already know, but but you will, and it will slowly start happening. Just like the years of your life that have gone by without you noticing. Time's going to go by and you're going to look back and be like, fuck, like I'm already like a couple weeks sober. This is crazy. And then that's going to turn into months, and that's going to turn into years. And this horrible nightmare will be a part of your past, and you'll move forward. Let's see, I got distracted there. The choice is yours. You can either... So, that may sound harshly presumptuous, but I understand the complexities of this self-induced misery, and I'm willing to bet that this is the state you find yourself in if you are seeking guidance, because no one really considers sobriety if things are going so well. And trust me, you are not alone. The choice seems simple to those who understand the power of addiction, but to those who... The choice seems simple to those who don't understand the powers of addiction, but to those who do understand, no, it's not that simple. Explaining addiction to those who have never been afflicted by it is like attempting to explain color to a blind man. You'll never fully understand unless you have witnessed and bared it with your own sight and mind. Relapses are almost inevitable. When one experiences the guilt and shame that naturally accompanies relapsing, one must embrace this. Sometimes we are unaware of how bad it is until we try to stop, and we can't. It's a potent realization. How strong it is. Like, fuck. Then comes the potent realization, the severity of your sickness and its need to be addressed. Relapses are a necessary element to your recovery, and if viewed with optimism, can serve as a positive reminder to proceed. We're entering uncharted and foreign territory. Don't expect to make it too far at first. The important thing is that we've breached the unknown and continue to push new boundaries. So do not beat yourself up when relapses occur. Get up and move forward. The past is the past. We're not going in that direction. We are fortunate enough to be in possession of this earthly time. The past and the future only exist in our minds. All we actually have is a finite series of nows. Be present in this moment and remain true to yourself, the real you. For if one does not resist the magnetic flow of the now, they will always end up where they need to be. Since the behavior your sickness has you engaged in has reigned priority in your daily life for so long, its routine has become inseparable, normalized, and codependent. A life without it is unfathomable. This is a defense mechanism of the parasite. Remember, survival at all costs, including the manipulation of its host. This parasite is lying to you, and the cure is a mixture of sober experiences and time. Your body and mind does not recognize sobriety as a normal activity. So in moments of frustration, in moments of frustration, anger, depression, or anxiety, it naturally signals to our brain that we must resolve these unwanted emotions the way we have programmed it to do so in the past. Pacification through intoxication. The only way to correct this parasitic mentality is by introducing sober experiences into our lives, so that in time our brains begin to recognize this activity. So the more battles we confront and defeat, the more strength we will build until we eventually stabilize this behavior and neutralize said parasite. You'll become much stronger with each battle you conquer, and that will help prepare you for the next. Be patient, breathe, take rest in between. This day will make you stronger. Here's just a little bit of advice. I'm not saying it's gonna work, but just, little tips. Eliminate as many psychological triggers as possible. Addiction has a routine, so dwelling in the same atmosphere where this routine existed could potentially influence your subconscious to repeat what it knows most. So, like, try painting your walls, rearranging your furniture, even relocating. Mix it up. Dispose. This should be go without saying, but dispose of any and all paraphernalia. No visitors for 3 months at least. Don't shut yourself off. This is priority number one. People will understand. Those who really care about you will understand. Stay at home and only go out for bare necessities or to reconnect with nature. Uh, just treat this as like an inpatient facility, rehab facility, because I looked into that too, and it's way too expensive. It's very hard for you to get sober when we don't even have enough money for our drugs, let alone $15,000 for rehab. So I'm kind of giving advice as to, well, it's an inpatient facility. So I say stay at home and only go out for bare necessities or to reconnect with nature. Refrain from posting anything on social media because you're seeking false validation. You're doing it for yourself. Remember that. Not for praise. Stop looking outward for answers. Look inwards and ask yourself. Document your process for your eyes only. It's therapeutic. For me, I drank like canned carbonated drinks because it helped to just have that can in my hand in social like awkward situations for some reason. Just in that opening of the can, yeah, it just helped. But I just tricked my brain without getting drunk. I just still have a canned drink. The carbonation felt familiar, right? My advice is stay away from non-alcoholic beer because for me that's too tantalizing. That's dangerous. But if you need to, and that's helping you not drink, and you're just drinking 12 of those a day, like fuck it, it's better than getting drunk. We can work on that later, right? You can address that later. Just fucking focus on right now and getting through. Do what you have to do as long as you're not fucking touching it. Research and educate yourself on your sickness. I think that's a big one too, right? Because you're sick, you should do some research into it, right? Like if you got found out you had diabetes, I'm sure that like for the most part people would do like a little bit of research into their sickness, right? But addiction is the only one that nobody does. Look into the neurological aspects of your sickness. Yeah, just research it. I was gonna say something, but I'm pretty sure I touched base on it right here. Yeah, watch motivational videos on your sobriety. Sorry, watch motivational videos on sobriety to help inspire you. Overindulge in food if you have to. Once again, you can correct that along the way. Just get some time under your belt. Do what you have to fucking do. Do whatever you have to do to stay sober for the first while. Deal with the rest later. And as I said at the beginning, I think, yeah, this is my second attempt at the video. So, quit vices and steps. Once again, I quit hard drugs, then alcohol. Sorry, I used alcohol and marijuana to get off hard drugs, and then I used pot to fucking get off booze, and I used cigarettes to still smoke to get off the weed. So I did everything in steps, and I'm an addict in the sense where I need my cigarettes, but I remember everything, and my mind is not altered. It's not a mind-altering substance, right? So I do intend to quit smoking, but I did what I had to do, as you should too. Whenever I became overwhelmed with the difficulties and pressures that naturally occur when enduring these battles, I would sometimes remind myself of a dear friend who died tragically at a young age and reflect on how precious the time we have here is. I would then force myself to view it from a different perspective. I don't have to do this. I get to do this. It's all about strengthening your mind, right? Viewing things from a different, everything's still there, so just view it from a different perspective. You don't have to do this. Like you have this opportunity to do this, right? If one has been engaging in this behavior for the entirety of their adult life, or even long enough to not recall what life was once without it, the one quickly realizes a whole different level of severity of their sickness once the vice has been revoked. We realize how many aspects of our lives it was affecting without our knowledge. We knew it was destroying our health and lives in general, but we ceased to witness the degree of which we were reliant on it. And we must learn all of our fundamental social skills all over again. In other words, there are a lot of firsts on your journeys to sobriety. There's like your first date, there's your first family gathering, there's your first holiday, there's your first birthday, weekend, there's your first day of work, meeting of the parents, there's the first death in your family or death of a loved one, there's your first sexual encounter, there's your first breakup, your first concert, movie, interactions with a stranger, accident, night's sleep. That was a big one for me. The first time sleeping sober. What the fuck is this? First seasons, first summers were very triggering. Winters are triggering. Everything is triggering. Doesn't matter what it is. When you're a fucking addict like that, everything is a trigger. Everything. Just the day itself is a trigger. It's a day. I'm up. I gotta be getting fucked up. These are all things that would normally require drugs to do. And because drugs were so deeply rooted in our daily lives and routine, we've never had any contrast or experience with the sober dealings of such basic activities. So these basic activities are actually extremely difficult for us and usually trigger us to start using again because we find ourselves overwhelmingly uncomfortable. We must embrace the awkwardness and uncomfortability in these types of situations. There's no way around it. We must learn from scratch. We will often feel like young children, too shy and nervous. This is what I like to call new skin. New skin is very awkward, especially in social settings. But one thing I would try to remind myself when adjusting into this new skin, no matter how uncomfortable and awkward I am and appear, it can't be any worse than some of the stupid shit these people have seen me do when I'm on drugs or blacked out. So embrace this. If anything, use it to your benefit and acknowledge what this vice has done to you and how reliant you are on it. It should hopefully solidify the need to address your sickness. Please don't let these experiences discourage you. Limit these experiences, and if possible, space them apart as much as you can. Understand that this is completely new and it will take time, but your confidence in yourself will be restored. It won't always be awkward and uncomfortable like this. Yeah. Now, might lose some of you here, but whatever. I hope not, but I encourage those struggling to become sober to do whatever is necessary. But the whole concept of AA or NA has never appealed to me. And even though I did kind of seek it out at first, it was during the pandemic. And it was all through Skype. I wanted like personal connection. I didn't want to Skype shit. or whatever the fuck that's called. I don't know. Um, so, though, if it helps you, then that is fucking awesome, and I applaud you for your sobriety and your success. I'm not here to ridicule your process or belittle your path to sobriety. Do whatever works for you. Personally, I am wary of religiously affiliated organizations. If it's short term to get you started, that's great. But if you're still sitting in that circle, drinking coffee, pinch faced and disconnected many years later, fucking, I don't want to be here, then something is still amiss, and I can't help but feel like you may have replaced one vice for another. Just speculation there. It used to be that you needed your vice. Now you need your meetings. So like I need to get to that meeting. It's like, fuck, that's something's still wrong here, man. Your ultimate goal should be to heal yourself from this affliction and dependency. I find it very disempowering to tell anyone in such a vulnerable state that they are powerless and need to give themselves up to a higher power. This to me is nonsense. It's bullshit. As you are your higher power, but that you has been suppressed. You are the only one who can stop yourself, just like you are the only one who physically administered those poisons into your body. Something much deeper is going on, and your process is about finding it and then creating a solution. It is my belief that before you commence your journey of self-discovery, one must reconnect themselves with spirituality. And to those who are unaware, cynical about spirituality, please note that it has nothing to do with how it is normally perceived, like with like ghostly connotations. The way Hollywood has done a lot of magic on us, it's nonsense. Because I think of it more in terms of energy, frequencies, vibrations, but more importantly, consciousness. Consciousness, and therefore your connection and oneness with the universe. The universe consists of matter. Matter consists of energy and its vibration. Everything is connected and affected by these natural laws. So, based on years of research and study, I theorize that the religious institutions of this world have manipulated this knowledge and integrated it into their religions to serve their own sinister agendas. So that's a whole different thing I won't get into, but as I'm sure you have already ascertained, I don't care for religion. So hence my skepticism on religion and its affiliations. Like if someone prays for a better day and the next day is better, one could see that as, their prayers being answered through divine intervention. But perhaps, as I believe, it's the manifestation of your focused energy towards an affirmation. We can and do create our own reality. So in other words, I do believe in the power of belief, but not a belief in God, or at least like the religiously based orthodox, man in a cloud, white beard kind of God, right? That most religions refer to. But a belief in yourself, right? They say like there's some truth in that shit, right? Like they say the kingdom of God is within you. When you start to look at that, like, what is that telling you? Like, right? My opinion, that is true. The kingdom of God is within you. It's your inner voice. It's your self. You'll hear me refer to yourself a lot. It's your intuition, and it's your real God. You are your God, and it's never left you. You left it. I hate using the word God because once again it has religious connotation attached to it. I don't like that. So like just remember that I'm talking about more consciousness. Like there is your higher self, but it's ultimately you. This self, your true God, is connected to everything, I believe. It's energy. And it has been repressed by the false sense of reality the superficial world and your addiction has instilled in you. So we must realign ourselves to the universe through spiritual means, silencing the ego and mind, then listening to yourself and heart. If never done, this practice is hard at first and it may seem difficult to comprehend, but consider this, that self is the one that led you here, right? It's speaking to you. You're just learning how to listen to it for the first time. My first encounter with myself, my higher self, and spirituality was before I successfully got sober. I was trying to get clean after countless times to do so, and I had once again given up and relapsed after a good friend of mine died. And one night I sat there wondering that if I had died and was given another chance at life, if I would continue this life of constant inebriation. And already, like, the body of me knowing, like, the answer would be, yeah, like, you'd still fucking party for sure. A voice quickly inside responded, nope. And I thought to myself, like, what the fuck was that? It was my voice, but, like, amongst the cacophony of shit that's in my head, that voice was finally loud. And I was like, who was that? Well, that was me, I believe. That was the real me, the self. After I began to recall and notice that this voice, this intuition, this self had never left me astray, or has never led me astray. It always watched out for me. And when I ignored it, bad things happened. So I learned to trust it, listen to it, knowing that this is the beginning of a healthy relationship with myself. So this is where I disagree with some aspects of AA teachings. They say you must admit you are powerless over your addiction and basically put your faith in a God to mend your sickness. But the success rate for long-term sobriety through AA, I think, is, last time I checked, was like 8%. I believe this is because they are directing their faith and energy into something other than themselves. Believe in yourself and start engaging in a healthy relationship with yourself. Love yourself. Be kind and patient with yourself. Know that you are worth it. You will begin to witness the power of your true God. The power of you. So simple, but it's right there. You are your God. Here's some things to look out for, I guess. If one finds themselves in a position where they believe that there's no point to correcting this behavior and addressing this sickness because they think, like, oh, things couldn't possibly get any worse. Well, I am telling you with certainty that it will. If you are not going to accept that the sickness has taken the wheel and that you have become a passenger on your own trip through life, then it will eventually drive you right off a fucking cliff. This sickness and its darkness will continue to grow like rampant cancer. Cut that fucking shit out. Sobriety requires maintenance, just like if you're a person that likes to work out and stuff, like your physique, like a physically fit body, one must work on it to maintain its physique. So it's the same thing with your sobriety. You must always be aware of addiction creeping its ugly head around the corner. You can't unsee the horrors of drug-induced insanity and the sensations thereof, but you can redefine your reality and learn to embrace it. And great wisdom comes from the suffering. One thing that will occur during your sobriety is that you'll look back at yourself or look back at your relationship with drugs and reminisce on the good old times, right? Questioning in return. Like, I've learned some discipline. Perhaps I can learn to moderate and prevent myself from going down that same path. Beware, because these are some of the parasite's last-ditch efforts to reel you back in to the life you have worked so hard to distance yourself from. It's like an old toxic relationship with some partner, but with yourself. You'll state to yourself, I've changed, I'm not the person I used to be. Then a month later, you've returned to your old repulsive ways. It's important to always remember why you left in the first place, a place of darkness, pity, and abuse. Please beware. Beware of advice coming from those who are not in a position you aspire to be in. Therefore, I would be wary of advice coming from those who don't understand the complex characteristics of addiction. Their hearts may be in the right place, but they simply won't fully understand, and their advice will most likely be something blatantly obvious to your situation and rendered useless because it comes from a place of ignorance. I recommend seeking guidance from those who have walked in your shoes and have maintained their sobriety. To put that into perspective, you wouldn't take financial advice from someone who is broke. Uh, you would ask a wealthy individual with a successful history of prosperity. And you wouldn't take relationship advice from someone involved in a passionless, abusive, and miserable relationship, right? You would ask somebody in a mutually blissful, compassionate, loving, and healthy relationship because they have clearly got some beneficial insight into obtaining something you desire. Um, all of our journeys to sobriety are subjective, and what works for one may not work for another. There's not one single thing that will get you sober. Your success will consist of multiple changes to your life and multiple methods of doing so. It's my advice that you do your research on your sickness and listen to how others have accomplished sobriety and conquered addiction. Then take whichever aspects have resonated with you and apply them to your process. Your process will be an eclectic one tailored to your individuality, and you will not know what works until you give it a try. If it doesn't work, try something else. Just keep trying because we only fail once we stop trying. Addiction does not adhere to societal regulations or timelines. It feeds when and where it pleases. It has never been more than an arm's reach away, or a short drive or text message away, and its incessant calling follows us everywhere. We are quite literally dragging our own ball and chain everywhere, which prevents us from reaching our full potential. Sobriety isn't always a happy experience, but it will always be happier than the toxic abuse this parasite has burdened us with. This parasite provides an artificial sense of happiness through exterior factors. The real happiness is interior. It comes from within. Sobriety offers the peace of mind that drugs had always promised to deliver. The human mind and body can adapt to the worst types of atmospheres. Just look at the state of your condition your addiction has you accustomed to. You are literally killing yourself with this, yet your body's natural goal for survival is so miraculously tenacious that against all odds, you are still here, breathing. So bear this in mind when you are approached with the difficulties of transitioning into sobriety. Your journey to sobriety will be met with great difficulties, but the rewards will outweigh the difficulties by astronomical proportions. If your mind and body can normalize the detrimental effects of addiction or this parasite, like your poor health, bedridden hangovers and withdrawals, self-abuse, self-loathing, declination of mental health, sleep deprivation, malnutrition, perpetual fatigue, lobotomizing blackouts, ostracization and alienation of friends and loved ones, lost opportunities, ceaseless anxiety, crippling depression, overwhelming stress and jeopardization of freedom and life. The rocky road to sobriety should appear pale in comparison. The greatest obstacle in achieving any goal is yourself. Connect with yourself. Love yourself. Never give up. You are not alone. And today will be your day. The choice is yours. See you on the other side.